Rockets are cooked. They're not ready. They don't have enough shot makers. They don't have any good shooters. And if there was any single solitary way to beat the Golden State Warriors 4 times, you had to get the first one. I just don't see it. They don't have what they need to win this series. I tried to sort of like fight doing this. I don't like doing this. It's not accurate. It's not probably the right thing to do, but I couldn't help myself because, as you and I have always promised, authenticity, and this is how I feel. Rockets are cooked. You had to have that game. I really, really do believe that they had to have that game. And so I could end up being wrong, but there's just too many clues. They're not ready. They don't have enough shot makers. And if there was any single solitary way for them to beat the Golden State Warriors 4 times, you had to get the first one. You did. Like, think about what their assignment is now. I know we go, it's only one game.
Yep.
Well, right.
Win 4 or 5.
Right. Well, I mean, 4 or 6.
Yeah.
4 or 6. But you're going to beat the Golden State Warriors 4 times out of 6 basketball games, which means at minimum you need to do 1 on their home floor. And if you only win 1 on their home floor, you're going to have to do this in 7 games. So they're going to be coming off of at least 1 day off, if not 2, every single time. Your top players are all 22, and you do not have anyone who you can give the ball to on the perimeter and say, go get me a bucket. We need a bucket. I'm not trying to be all Bay Area snooty. I just don't see it.
Well,
I don't see it.
I don't either, and I said it in our group chat. I don't think the Rockets can score enough to beat the Warriors. So if you're going to play a game like that, a game that is less than 100, no team got to 100, that's a game that Houston absolutely has to win. And you go back to the game that they beat the Warriors, I think it was in the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup, where you had that late funky call and Houston won a game. Both teams were in the 90s. That's the way that Houston's going to win. So you had a game where neither team got to 100 points and you lost. And if you want to look at the Warriors' history in the playoffs, there aren't a ton of games where the Warriors don't get to 100 points. When the Warriors don't get to 100 in the Steph Curry era, I think they're 8-22. So they've won games before, but a lot of those wins are back when, 95 points was pretty good early in Steph's career. Last year, the Warriors didn't get to 90 twice or didn't get to 100 twice. They lost both those games. So the fact that the Warriors didn't get 101 is really out of the norm, and that leads to your point of, that's the game, that's the style of game that Houston has to win. If Houston's going to win, it's going to be 95-85, right?
Totally. Although I think the Warriors, you're right, the NBA Cup game was 91-90. The Rockets won that. Yep. I know in the first trip to Houston, the Warriors scored a bunch of points and won that game, and it ended up in overtime, so the score was really high.
That was the Kuminga game.
Yeah, but I'm trying. Like, I believe that the Warriors can beat this particular team with a 95, a 96, a 97. I don't want them doing 85, but I think 95 or more is going to win a lot of games against this team because A, they're not great offensively, and B, it does slow down a little bit in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit more deliberate, especially in the second half. But we knew, I felt I did when it was 21-18. Was that the score at the end of one quarter? 21-18. I'm like, nobody's scoring 100 tonight. Like, you can see the pace of this game. You can see the physicality of it. Boy, I was glad that the Warriors were ready for the physicality. I was like, not to keep talking about other teams. I don't know if you saw the quote from J.J. Redick. I was like, tell me you're a rookie coach without telling me you're a rookie coach.
Right.
A, you weren't ready for the T-Wolves' physicality, and B, you said that into a microphone after the game?
Uh-oh.
Are you crazy? Wow.
Yeah.
You went to the playoffs and you weren't ready for the physicality? Jeez.
And you've got a 22-year vet and maybe the greatest player of all time, and he couldn't have told you as a coach or the other fellas, hey, Minnesota's a big and pretty physical team. Let's be ready for the physicality.
Oh, my God. Here's Jimmy Butler on last physicality in this series.
They're an incredible team, definitely a physical one. But I would like to think that we don't back down from any challenge anyways. And we met brute force with brute force, maybe a little bit of finesse in there as well. But I think we handled their pressure incredibly well, knowing that coming out the next game is probably going to be 2 to 3 times even more physical.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Rockets, I don't know how many other answers they've got. So they can try. They can try to push, shove, and hope that they don't get a really conservative whistle. They can try, and I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Like, they'll try to break the Warriors' mentality, but not a good spot for them to be at all.
No, and that's the way I think that Houston needs to win. To your point, though, the first matchup, the Warriors won 99-93. No Steph Curry. That was here. A game that neither team got to 100, and the Warriors won. And, you mentioned the 105-98 game. They actually beat Houston in overtime. You mentioned 127-121. They lost to Houston 106-96. And, that for me is the kind of game that Houston needs. They need a game where you contain Steph and you keep it down in the high 90s or low hundreds.
They don't have any good shooters. Dylan Brooks is their best shooter. I want everybody to let that sink in. Dylan Brooks is their best shooter. So all I can do is share with you how I feel in this moment and be totally willing to be wrong. I think the Rockets are cooked. I don't see, they don't have what they need to win this series.